I want to take some time and show you guys Revamped, which is our six-figure software company we were able to whip together within a few months. And we did it exclusively using no-code tools. So Bubble, Make.com, and Rapid APIs, which is what you guys are here learning right now. And so this is Revamped. And the easiest way to explain Revamped is it allows you to repurpose content however you would like and in different ways. So for example, I could take a YouTube video and turn it into a Twitter thread or a newsletter and simply just automatically create it. Now, for example, again, YouTube to, let's just say, a Twitter thread. So I could take a YouTube video, turn it into a really in-depth educational Twitter thread, or take a Twitter thread and turn it into a newsletter. And there are so many different combinations on how you can actually use Revamped to propel and really speed up your content creating process. But besides going into the website anymore, let me go ahead and show you guys the platform itself. So this is Revamped, and it really gives you the ability to add sources very easily. So this could be an article, a tweet, a YouTube video, an Instagram or TikTok short or reel. And you can simply just add these sources, and as you are scrubbing through the internet finding cool things that you could repurpose, you can go ahead and save them in your library here. And from this point, you can turn any of these sources into newsletters, into articles, Twitter threads, individual tweets, LinkedIn posts, sales emails, short form scripts that could be used for short form content, as well as basic summaries. So if you're trying to summarize podcasts or long length videos, you can do that all inside of Revamped. Now, the interface that we used to build Revamped was our AI SaaS starter kit template. So we actually just took this template that all of you guys have available to you, and we then converted it, updated the design slightly, but that template gave us really the framework that we use for this entire application. Now, let's walk through one of these and do this as an example. So let's just go to WGMI, and right here we have an article covering productized services. And let's jump back into Revamped here and go ahead and add this as a source. Now, the source has been added right here. So this is the entire article. And now we have the option, and we can do this here, is create newsletters, threads, tweets, select what writing style you want, how long you want it in advance. But I'm going to show you this through our create content section. So here we go to newsletter generator. We see our source that we just added right here. And now we can select whether we want a multi-sectional newsletter, so a newsletter that covers maybe 3 or 4 different topics, or if we want this to be a single story newsletter, which is what we're going to select for this example. So here I have my article that I want to turn into a classic newsletter, and let's make this medium in length. And our goal is, just to educate our audience on this topic. We'll go ahead and select create. And as you can see, this newsletter is generating. Now, the cool thing is too, when we pull this article from sources, we are actually using this Rapid API. So this is an article data extraction API, which allows us to input the link of any article online, and we are able to pull in all the text from that article. So this is what we're actually using to source this. Now, let's just say we wanted to source a YouTube video. So here's a YouTube video on Brett talking about the productized agency model. And we can jump in here, add sources, paste the YouTube link, and add this source. And so we'll cover this while the newsletter is generating. But how we do this too is through a Rapid API called the YouTube API or the YT API. And this allows us to pull the subtitles of the videos. And there's a lot more that you can pull too. Comments, translate, shorts, descriptions. You can pull in a ton of stuff all through this one YouTube API. So someone already built all of this for us. All we did was we linked it to our Bubble and Make automations. And so in simple, we can jump back here and we see that, hey, this YouTube video has been added, and we can turn this into, let's say, an article. We can select what article type. We just want this to be a news story, and we can go ahead and create. So it looks like our newsletter has been created, unlocking the secret to 8-figure earnings in service delivery. And this is our newsletter output that was generated from this productized service source. And so let's take some time and actually jump into make.com so I can show you how we are actually using Bubble and connecting it into Make. And so here we have a bunch of active scenarios. So we have, our article generator, LinkedIn generator, newsletter generators, tweets, section generators. So there is a lot of stuff going on in here. But let's take a look at what we just generated, which we generated a single newsletter. So we have these different modes. So as you can see, there's like 2 of everything. We have a dev mode and a live mode. That way we can test things in development without pushing it live. And then when we want to push it live, we then just duplicate it. And then we have our live mode. That way we can do all the testing that we need without affecting anybody's actual interface. So as you can see here, we generated a single newsletter, which was the article that we used from WGMI, and we can actually see that right here. So I can select what we generated and actually go through this process. And so as you can see, this in the beginning looks like a lot of stuff. But if you actually break this down, it is really simple. Basically, we are pulling that source from Bubble. And then based on the length that we decide, so in our case, we selected medium, it went through OpenAI, actually generated the output for us. We then parsed the text so it's formatted correctly, and then we returned it right back to Bubble. So in simple, this is how it works. And we're actually going to walk through this process again, and I want to show you really how this entire operation works. So before we do that, let's just take a look at our single newsletter generator here. And I'll show you guys some of the different router options that are available. Sorry, I keep zooming in and out really quick. So basically, let's jump back into the application here and try to create another newsletter. So let's just do this quickly. Newsletter, classic. And as you can see, we have short, medium, and long. And so these are the 3 options when creating a classic single newsletter. And so if I jump back into Make here, you can see we have long, medium, and short. And so these basically go to show all the different options that are available to you and flows that you can choose from. So let's just say I created a short newsletter. It would then retrieve that from Bubble, know that, hey, this is a short newsletter, and it would use this prompt and this OpenAI prompt to generate my output. Now, you see these little branches that kind of come off here that aren't really selected. Now, these are error handling branches. And so these basically, if there's an issue with this make automation, we are able to display an error to that user on Bubble. But this does look like a lot, but think of each of these branches, so short, medium, and long, they really are all the same thing. The only difference is the actual prompt itself. And so this type of automation literally runs all of the tools that we have on Revamped. So let's give this another go and let's do a short newsletter. We'll go ahead and create this newsletter. And if we jump into make.com and we actually take a look at our history, we can see that we have an active automation running, and we can actually visualize this live and see that, hey, Bubble did recognize we submitted a request, and it is a short newsletter. So it's going to go up here to this top panel, and ChatGPT is generating our newsletter. And if there are no issues, it will then retrieve it and send it back to Bubble where we can actually see it. So once this is done, we should be able to see our newsletter here, and we can check to make sure that everything took place the way it should have. And it's really cool just looking at this now and being like, wow, this was entirely built with no-code tools with make.com, which, I mean, years ago would not have been doable. And so as you can see, we have our new newsletter, and I can jump back into Make, and we'll go ahead and refresh this page. And I should be able to see the history of every single automation that has gone through make.com. And boom, we can actually pull up the output as well as the prompt. And we can just click on message and content, and here's the output that we received. And it was submitted through Bubble and parsed correctly, and that's how we are able to display this here. So something else that's really cool with Revamped is we have the ability to actually edit the text. So we can open our AI Ghostwriter, and let's just say we want to reword this line. I could be like, change this text. We'll just keep it broad. And it'll actually create an output, and then I can simply just replace it. And it will make all the changes that I need. I can be like, hey, change the subject or the pre-header or this entire text. And it makes it really, really easy for us to edit the text. And this entire thing is ran through make.com. And so I can actually jump into Make here, and we will take a look at our type AI scenarios. So I can jump into here. And this is our Ghostwriter. Now, as you can see, there's a couple different branches here. We have is a selected text and then is not a selected text. And so really what this means is, sorry, I keep zooming in and out like crazy here. But really what this means is if I do not select text, like I don't highlight text, then it knows that it needs to update the entire piece of content. And so it'll actually use this prompt here, and these branches really are all the same. Now, if I do select text, then it will use this higher branch to actually edit only the text that I selected, and then return that on Bubble so that way I can replace it. So we can actually jump into the history of this, and we can actually see that we just did this and we just ran this, and obviously it was a selected text. We can see exactly what it is that we selected. And then we can also see the output that was generated. So fairly simple. Again, it looks a lot more complicated than it is, but at the end of the day, this is completely using make.com. And so hopefully this gives you a really good understanding of really what is capable with make.com, with Bubble, with rapid APIs and the ability to use APIs that people have already made so you don't have to waste time building them from scratch. I mean, for the most part, and all of Revamped is built using tools that are publicly available for anybody. It really just came down to how creative we were, to the problem that we solved, and then the solution that we actually built to solve that problem. Now, you can also, in Revamp, jump into settings. You can see how many tokens you've used. You can actually load and see exactly what tokens have been used on what. You can also edit your profile or your brand settings, so name. I can also edit brand settings, so my brand name, my niche, or my description of my newsletter. We also have a Write Like Me system in here where I can actually paste a little writing snippet of my writing style and then rewrite any of the outputted content in my style. So this is really just a basic overview of Revamped and what we were able to do. But I hope this was inspiring to you. And here in the next lesson, we're actually going to take a couple of these tools and rebuild them from scratch to show you exactly how we built our automation, how we connected this to Bubble, and really show you the ins and outs of how this works so you can do the exact same thing.